Hello everyone, this is GM Var Akobian with 1000 GM, and this is the final recap for the St. Louis GM Norm Tournament. This is round number 9, and we have 5 games that we're going to take a look at, and we'll see who's going to be the winner. At this point, Mikhail Antipov is leading the tournament very convincingly, and he also won his final game, so he won basically the event. So let's take a look at this game here. This is the game between I am Stearman and GM Harshit. D4, E4, C5, knight F3, D5, D6, D4, knight F6. We have the Najdorf variation. If A6 is played, but now he decided not to play A6. He played A6 previously in some of the tournaments, but this one we have a different. We have knight C6, bishop G5, G6, knight B3, bishop G7, queen D2, castles, bishop E2. So A5 now, aggressive approach, trying to play the move A4 here to attack the knight on B3. A4, bishop E6, castles, knight D7, bishop E3, and the point of the move knight D7 here is to try to take on B3 and put a knight on C5. Rook AD1 is played, and the point is if you take queen D5, attacking the knight, you can't go to D4 because in this case actually there's bishop D4 takes rook D4, and this position is going to be advantageous. Let's say after all this moves you have to take, is going to be advantageous for white. 2 pieces for a rook. So that's why he didn't take. He played rook C8 here. But here Josiah played a very interesting move, bishop G4, attacking the rook on C8, and now making him to move away. He played rook B8, but actually E6 could have been a move here because queen takes D6, takes rook D6, knight takes B3, and the white has 2 bishops, but this bishop is kind of out of the play here, and it looks like there's some good squares here for the knight. Let's say the knight can go on D4, and there's some good squares to go to. So let's say here, copy D4, F4, rook FD8, takes, and it's still a complicated struggle here. Both players have their chances. You know, white can maybe think, okay, I have the 2 bishops, maybe I can try to squeeze a little bit here, but it's not so easy. So let's take a look now how the game went. Rook B8, queen D5, queen B6, knight B5, activating the knight on B5. Knight A7, trying to trade the knights. Knight takes A7, queen takes A7, F4, B6, protecting the knight, E5, takes, E6, attacking the queen, queen D6, rook B7. Yeah, when I saw this position, I thought, okay, this E5 pawn is going to be weak, and if E5 pawn falls, then the B2 pawn is likely to fall. So this is one of those type of positions that, you know, strategically it's very dangerous for white, because if E5 pawn falls, the whole position is going to get, you know, it's going to get very difficult. So it goes here, bishop C5, now takes here, but after bishop D6, there's a pressure here, there's a rook coming on C7. There could be some compensation for white. So that's why black decides, you know, it's much important to take this, take. And here I think, trading queens would have been the best option here. I mean, I know it's a difficult position to play. You probably have to abandon this pawn, so I go b4. Maybe b3 you play this position, but I think this is the best chance. I see for Josiah, bring the bishop on c4, and it's a fight. There's no guarantee that this is going to be a win. There is no guarantee, once again, that you're going to win this game, okay? So queen c2, f8, cd1, king g7. The problem is now the black can play for attack here. Again, he's ready to trade. No trade. Queen h5. F5. And yeah. And now queen c7 was played. Yeah, unfortunately, it's an oversight. After h3, it's still a game here. It's still a big fight. It's still a game here. It's black has good winning chances, but unfortunately this just loses to bishop b5 because the queen is under attack. Now check here, and you still have a queen hanging and this is hanging, so you have only rook g7 here. It looks like you might be able to deflect the opponent, but the problem is he takes. Sorry, rook g7, he just takes, and when you take here, sorry, d1 mate, okay, and that just leads to a background checkmate. Okay, queen takes d5 was winning as well. Yeah, so I think he just simply missed the move bishop e5. Tough finish for Josiah. He had a good start of the tournament, but unfortunately a tough finish. It would be nice to see him do well and get a norm in this tournament, but next time, he'll have more opportunities. So for next time, he'll have a better middle and second half. He had a very strong finish. He had a strong start, very strong start, and he was actually winning against Antipov as well. So unfortunately, the finish wasn't good. But GM Hashid finished with a win here, and yeah, this bishop e5 was a nice touch here. Going back, attacking the queen, and threatening the mate on h2. All right, the next game we have is this is a curious game here, actually. This is a game between FM Tuxtamur and IM Williams. So it ended in a draw pretty quickly, but there were a lot of content here. So bishop d2, this is old theory. This move a5 is a possibility. I'm not sure if I love it so much, but one thing I know, when opponent castles, you have to, do something with this bishop. Either take, you got to figure out what to do because there's some problems. That here now bishop e3. Okay, this is fine actually, for e3. And here for sure you have to do something. You can't just castle here because this bishop c1 is actually a serious threat. You have to take some measures here, okay? You have to take some measures, otherwise bishop c1 you're going to get trapped. So either you take knight fd2, they say, okay, castle, knight c3, okay, you play this position. Maybe white is tiny bit better here, but no big deal, okay? Rook e1, e8, it's just tiny bit better here, but like I say, there's just no big deal. Or you have to go for other options here, like which is c6, okay? You can play c6. So if bishop c1, at least you can play e4, you're hitting this guy, knight fd2, d5, and you're going back. If c5 comes in, you can actually play castle and just give up the bishop on d2 because you have such a strong pawn chain. But yeah, you have to do that. But instead, the justice just played here, and they go bishop c1. And suddenly, wait a minute, how are you going to deal with this threat? So your bishop is getting trapped. So he took d5. Makes sense. Wants to go back on e7, but wait a minute, the door is closed. You're not going back here. Now you have two choices. Either you play b6 or a4. If you play a4, unfortunately a3, queen takes a4, and you're going to have to play moves like this. And I guess if I take, you have bishop a6, so I guess queen c2, c6. You're just down a pawn for no reason, basically. Maybe you have some chances, but again, you're just down a pawn. Just simply down a pawn. So b6 was played, and here It's hard to realize, but this position is just lost. And FM Tuxtemur spent some time here and played the move A3 and offered a draw, which was expected by Williams. But in fact, the position is actually winning for white. And it's just winning for white, and I'll show you why. So bishop A6, probably the line of bishop C5 is just bad. You just 2 pawns for pieces. It's just not enough compensation. So bishop A6. C6 is a very, very strong move, C6. So it's possible they just missed. They thought, oh, takes, bishop takes F1, bishop takes F1. Maybe these lines are not, it's still advantageous, clearly advantageous for white, but it's just, you know, I definitely take on B6. You have basically 2 pieces for a rook, so it's very nice for you. But he played, if you play C6, it leads to this curious line. So let's say bishop F1, bishop takes F1, bishop D6. And normally positions like this, yeah, white is better, but you wouldn't think it's like, you know, +4 here, like what the engine shows. You would think, okay, it's better, but not as much. But here it's just basically white has a very easy development and goes for attack, bishop D3, and it's just going to be very, very difficult to do anything here. So very good draw for Williams, and I think FM Tuxtemur didn't realize that he had such a big advantage. The next game we have is the game between FM Gedaljevic and Mardov. D4, knight F6, knight F6, E3, D5. Now we have bishop D3. Bishop D6, B3. B6, knight BD2, takes, queen E2, knight C6, and going for the break with E4. Of course, in this position, you can just even play take, and play C4. This is a little bit more natural to me because I want to be able to play, let's say, A3, queen C2, and get my rooks in like this. This would be my setup here, okay? But he decided to take and put a queen on E2, now knight C6, threatening some knight B4 ideas, E4. A very concrete idea. The threat is to play E5, so bishop C7 is one option, or he played knight D7 first. E5, A3. Queen E7, rook F E1. Rook A8, bishop B5. F6, trying to open up the position. It makes sense because you have to try to do something to get this E5 pawn out of the way. Computer likes to go rook B8 back and, you know, try to do something in the center, but this is very logical, the human way of playing. B4 now from Gedaljevic, trying to break the position. If he takes, yeah, I'm very curious to see how Mardov was gonna take here. Was he gonna take with the pawn, or how is he gonna take? Because taking back with the knight, it doesn't look that great because the knight lands on E5. Yeah, it doesn't look that great. So he goes here, takes, boom, knight takes E5. Bishop E5. Now, if you take queen takes C5, is just very nice, you know, comfortable position for white. There is a nice grip on the position, so white wouldn't be in any risk. So now plays bishop B6. Now the idea is wants to take and put pressure here. Okay, so he goes take, trying to get a grip on the position. Rook F5. And here we have a very interesting moment here. Here, white is actually a little bit better. All he has to do is just play rook over, perhaps C3, and then go this bishop D4. But Max makes a move, knight D4, and that actually gonna give chances for Mardov to get some winning chances here. So knight d4 is certainly an inaccuracy here. The move rook a b1 would have been a very safe choice. Now take e5. And now suddenly if you just move the bishop back, d4 could be a strong idea. Or let's say queen f7, sorry, queen f7 first, and then d4 is coming up. This bishop is going to be very strong suddenly. So, but instead, the best move here would have been simply f3. Bishop goes on f2. Put a pawn on c3, and again, you know, it may look better for black, but it's not easy. It's not easy to do anything. So go back. So he actually played f4, but this is losing. Sadly, he missed something. Takes. Queen f8. And the queen has only one square to go to, because if you go to, that is attacking c6, because if you go here, just simply you're losing a piece. So you have to go here, take, and now he overlooked this move. Bishop b5. This is such a clever move here by Mardov, because now he moves the bishop away, threatening a mate and threatening the piece. Yeah, this was a very strong play by him, and just what an oversight. It's very easy to miss a quiet move like this. You would think position is good, and just boom, suddenly bishop b5 comes in, and you're in very, very serious trouble here. Yeah, h3, rook d4, and game is over. Yeah, you can take another pawn, but rook d2 is just one pawn, just not enough compensation. So Mardov finished the tournament with an excellent score, and he was half a point, just half a point short. You know, he got 6.5, and he needed 7 for the norm in this event. So it's very close here. I think Dimitar Mardov has very good chances within the next 6 months to get his GM norm. So I'm excited to see this young player play more events, get more opportunities to get the GM, start getting the GM norms. He's definitely a very strong IM right now. So let's move on to the next game. The next game we have, this is a game Antipov playing with the white pieces against Krechetov. So we have e45, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop to c5, castles, d6, d3, h6. The idea behind h6 is to try to prevent the knight g5, bishop g5 ideas. c3, knight f6, knight bd2, a3, a6, a4 now. The idea of a4 is just try to control the b5 square. Castles, rook e1, bishop a7, knight goes on f1, bishop e6, bishop e6 takes, knight g3. Now, if you see this position, it's you know, it looks pretty equal here for both players. And black has the f file, and on the other hand, you know, black has double pawns here. So queen e8 was played, and now bishop e3. You know, bishop e3 could be played after queen e8. Let's see here, queen e8. Yeah, I think bishop e3. Trying to liquidate the bishops, and I think this was a long maneuvering game, and looks like black was doing fine for a long time here, but eventually there was a central break with d4, and Antipov managed to get the better of it and win this game. I think perhaps DGT didn't get all the moves for this game, but at the end Antipov won the game, and he won the tournament convincingly. But out of the opening, I thought Krechetov was doing fine here. It's a playable position here. Yeah, so knight g4 is an idea to attack, for example, and even can go back if needed. Yeah, so the point is, if you play d4, knight h5, getting some ideas to come in here. All right, so that's the game. And again, very strong finish by Grandmaster Antipov in this event. And now let's look at the final game. The final game was also very curious. It's a very short game, but it was just decided very quickly. Let's see, d4. This is I am Kalekstein playing GM Chandra. Knight f3, g6, bishop f4, bishop g7, e3, bishop e2, d6, h3, c5. Trying to attack. Queen b6 now, putting pressure here. Grandmaster Chandra is trying to win the final game to get some rating. You know, he had a tough start, but then he had a strong finish. At the moment, he's doing quite well. He has 3.5 out of 4 in the last game. So we're finishing with a win would make it 4.5 out of 5. So knight c3. Can also play queen c1 here just to protect. That would be fine too. Knight c6, rook b1. Bishop f5, d5 comes in. Knight e1, have to defend on c2. a3, removing the knight. Bishop d. Another option is actually to play g4. Attack the bishop, force the bishop back, and then play e4. And try to claim that the space is very important here. Knight g2, get the knight on e3 perhaps, or even go for h4, h5. This is an interesting approach. I haven't seen too many games where you put the knight on g2 and just start pushing. You just say, let's go, and push the pawns to create threats on the opponent's position. So this could have been certainly very, very interesting. So he played, he didn't play like this. He played more positionally, bishop d3, takes, queen takes, knight c7. So e4, connecting the pawn chain. And now queen goes to a6. And this is a very interesting moment here. White has choices. Can play knight f3, which I really like here. The move knight f3, get the knight into the game, or take on a6. So there are two options. So I don't necessarily want it to take because that b file sometimes could be useful. But it's fine. You can play like this. Takes, knight f3, knight d7. And after knight d7, there's, you know, rook e1. The main goal in this kind of Benoni type of structures is white wants to play the move e5. Okay, white want to play the move e5 and open up the position. Knight b6, knight d1. Rook d7. Knight e3. Bring the knight in, and actually this is a move that it's amazing. This one move is going to cost white the game. So in this position, white is doing relatively fine. He can play the move knight d2, and then he can play c4. It's very important to get the c4 in here. So this would be interesting. Knight d2, f5, c4. And if you take, just simply, oh no, this doesn't work, sorry. There's a nice trick here, bishop h6. I overlooked that. Yeah, it's very nice for black. So here actually just simply play bishop g3. If bishop b3, just knight goes on e3. Eventually b3 and pick up the pawn on e4. And actually, in the long run, these pawns are just going to be very, very weak. Okay? In the long run. But unfortunately for Kalekstein, this is the last round and players are getting a little bit tired. He had to play the move knight e2, and it's a very slightly better position for him. He played the move knight e3. And there was a very strong move here. You know, Grandmaster Chandra was just simply waiting for this opportunity. And he played the move f5. What he does is now he's threatening to play fe, and the bishop is hanging. And now d5 pawn is going to be weak. If, let's say, you had this move in, and a5, then after e5, you have a significant advantage, okay? Because you can play e6 next, for example. Takes, you can take back. So this would be very, very nice, for example, if you get something like this. But here, f5 takes, this is what he did, and now simply knight takes d5. Attacking the bishop, take, and here I think from frustration of just playing a bad move, FM Kalkstein actually just resigned here. Of course, he can fight here. I mean, he's only down 1 pawn, and there's still a lot of work needs to be done here to win a position like this. I mean, it's still a game, okay? Yeah, it's definitely very good winning chances, but it's still a game. You know, you can play the move before. You still can try to pose problems to the opponent, but you know, from the frustration of missing this move, he just didn't feel like continuing because he thought, you know, he missed this f5 move, and position collapsed pretty quickly. So again, once again, we see another game. We had few of them in this GM section, guys, where we observed one mistake, and suddenly opponent is just in a very big trouble. Okay, so one mistake like here, we see decently played. Just need to put a knight on d2, put the pawn on c4. It's fine. We see a move here. Boom, f5 comes in. And it's just very, very difficult, you know, to do anything after this. It's just very, very unpleasant. And now, yeah, again, the game could go on. Actually, the better move would have been to play e5 here. At least it's not going to be super easy here. Take, pull the bishop here, and try to go rook bd1 to put some pressure. Okay, put some pressure on the knight, and there's pressure on d6 as well here. So it's still a game. I mean, we've seen much worse position people hold, you know. So this is just it's a pawn. It's clearly a pawn advantage, but it's still you know, there's still lots of fight left in this position here. But yeah, from frustration, you know, I am Kalkstein just simply resigned in that position. Another option was very curious. I'm very curious about this position. So if you guys want, you can analyze this position a little bit. This g4 idea, you know, very important. G4, push the bishop back on d7, and then you have the e4. And very curious, knight g2. I haven't seen this kind of play. Knight goes on g2 and says, you know what? Let's go for the attack here. Even though you're castled there, you're trying to grab space and put some pressure to the opponent's position here. So, you know, very interesting. I like this. And you play queen d2. After that, connect your rooks, and eventually, still, you probably want to play e5 or f4, f5 at some point. So, very interesting. Okay, so this concludes. This concludes actually the round 9 and the St. Louis GM Norm event. This was a very exciting tournament. Grandmaster Antipov, the over 2600 player, had a convincing, very convincing result in this event. I believe he scored 7.5 out of 9, just a couple of draws, and he won the rest of the games. Very convincing result for him. You know, gaining some rating points in a tournament where he was by far the highest rated player. So he did really well. We did really well, a really good result for I am Mardov. He did great as well in this event, and is getting closer and closer to get that GM norm. I think a couple of more opportunities for him in the next few events, and he should be able to get the norm as well. So, and Grandmaster Chandra had a very tough start. He started half out of 3, but then he managed to bounce back and finish with 4.5 out of 5 at the end, coming out with a small plus at the event. And on the other hand, for Josiah, I am Josiah looked like he was maybe going to fight for the norm here. He had a great start, won the first 2 games, and then he was pressing. He was pressing Antipov and had a winning position against him. If he had converted that win against Antipov, that could have changed everything. Could have changed Antipov's tournament, and also, you know, could have also changed Josiah's, because I think that was game number 3. Could have given 3 out of 3. And again, you needed 7 points out of 9 in this tournament, so it's not easy to get. But the start is very important. Okay, some of the players had a very solid start. Alex Krechetov, for example, the lowest rated player, had a very solid start. 5 draws against much higher ranked players, but then he had more difficulties towards the end of the event. But thank you everybody for watching. This concludes the GM Norm event. We have recap videos coming up for the IM section, and we had one of our players who earned the IM Norm in that section, and we'll be back for that. Make sure to subscribe to the 1000 GM YouTube channel, put a like, and we want to see your comments as well. And we'll be doing more recaps for you from the IM section from the St. Louis event. This is GM Var Akobian, and we'll see you soon.